Nova's #1 football podcast. Coach Mesa, good evening to you, sir.
How are you? How are you doing this evening?
Doing excellent. And I got something for you, buddy. I got something that I can't believe I have not brought up in a conversation we've had. We're already several shows in to the new year, and I don't know what I was thinking. My fantasy team dominated your fantasy team in the votes.
Oh, yeah.
We never brought that up. I never brought it up. I can't believe I didn't bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
The people spoke. The people spoke. We took it to a vote.
I think there needs to be I don't know. I think there's some dumps going on during that vote. I don't know. I think there was.
You're gonna do a Warren. There's gonna be a Warren commission on the.
Warren commission. I don't accept the results of this.
Actually, that's a very appropriate time of year to say you're not accepting the results.
I am not accepting the results of this.
It's mid-January, right? You're not accepting the results. San Francisco, if you're listening, please hack the fantasy results. Isn't that where the headquarters is in San Francisco?
That is where the headquarters is.
I found that funny though. I forgot to mention that the people voted and that my team ended up coming victorious. So I cheers.
Although I was disappointed in the lack of votes. I am going to be honest. There was like 37 people voted on this.
Yeah, lack of votes was weak. Time of year, I guess people are eating sugar plums and all that kind of stuff.
I do think visuals might have helped out some. I think if we would add pictures of your team, pictures of my team, tag and stuff on it, I think maybe it might have made a difference. Maybe for next year.
Well, buddy, how's everything else going?
It's going all right. Yeah, I'm missing barbecuing. Man. I mean, let me ask you. So I'll lead off of mine. I'm a porterhouse guy for steaks. What are you?
Porterhouse guy when I was younger. I've kind of gotten right to it now. I'm either eating. Okay, well, so a couple things. One, usually if they have it on the menu, I'm doing a prime rib. Okay. Love a prime rib, with my horseradish cream, right? Now, I know. But I'm saying if that's on the menu at the restaurant, steakhouse, I will get that. Now, as far as steak, now I'm pretty easy. I'm either a filet guy,
really?
Yeah. Like it's simple, it's nice and tender. Or I go ribeye for the same reason, marbled, nice and just like delicious fat. Yeah. So usually ribeye or filet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like ribeye as well. I think it's like 1B for me, but I think porterhouse is probably because you get the two you get the two cuts, right? You get the
two cuts, bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger's always better.
It is.
Right? Yeah. You like tomahawks.
I have made a tomahawk before. Yeah, I mean they sell them at Sam's Club. Sometimes I buy those and make them as well. But those take a long time to cook. They take a long time to cook just because of the thickness of it. Takes a long time to cook.
So now you like Maestros, whatever it's called over in DC. But how about in Northern Virginia? You have a place that you've hit up?
I really haven't. I mean, oddly enough, I've been here a few years and we just haven't really gone to any places. Now I hear the All American is pretty good.
They got a few great American restaurants, but they do a nice drunken ribeye.
Oh, okay. Drunken ribeye. Okay.
Drunken ribeye. I had some kind of special marinade or something.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty good. I like DC Prime. There's Eddie V's over in Tyson's is pretty good. Capitol Grill's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I've heard really good things about it.
So we got a lot of good steakhouses. You don't need to go all the way to DC. You can stay right here in Nova. We have everything.
Yeah. I mean, why would you, right?
And we have, speaking of things that Nova has, we might not have any college football directly in Nova. NCAA college football in Nova, but we do have CNU.
Yeah.
And CNU is almost like Northern Virginia University because we got so many students that go there.
Yeah, well, at least at Woodson, right? I mean, so many of our students. I mean, that's like one of their number one choices too is to go to CNU. I get to be the campus. You've been there before. I hear the campus is amazing.
It's a great campus, great dorms, great facilities. Yeah, CNU is definitely one of the nicer, public universities here in Virginia. Definitely, they've done a good job, building things around and making it nice and attract the students.
Yeah, and our guest this week is going to be Coach Wicklund, who is the defensive coordinator at CNU, and he got a lot of interesting things to talk about in regards to recruiting and kind of their program there at CNU.
When we reached out to him, he was very gracious and right away got back to us and said he'd love to do it. Was a fan of the show.
Yeah.
And great guy. Was able to talk to us, about the recruiting process, about the university, all that stuff. And he was able to throw in. We were talking about him doing when he comes to town, and we said, let us know if you're ever, around Woodson, say stop by and say hi. He said, I will. He said, but where do I get a Dash and Dan? That's what I want to know. The man, he's a smart coordinator. He's a smart DC because the man has good sandwiches on his mind.
Yeah. Common sense question to ask too, right? Just common sense things. How can you not like that?
How can you not like it? So we enjoyed it. And I think our audience, again, CNU, Christopher Newport University, one of the big dogs. I mean, had a great season last year at 7-3. They're always good at every sport, from boys lacrosse to girls lacrosse, men's basketball, et cetera, et cetera. They're good across the board. Popular Nova college for all the student athletes. So yeah, take a listen. You guys are gonna like this one with defensive coordinator Coach Wicklund. All right, take a listen. Welcome to all Hitches. We got Coach Wicklund, the defensive coordinator from CNU, joining us today. Coach Wicklund. Prior to that, Hampton Sydney, Bucknell, Rice, now running the defense, and the Nova head recruiter for CNU. Coach, glad you could join us today. We appreciate it.
Oh, appreciate you guys having me on, and appreciate everything you guys are doing for the area and for these young men.
What are you doing right about now? I mean, this part of the season, where are you at as far as off-season calendar goes right now?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's continuing to follow up with the guys that we've started to build relationships with in the recruiting process, and we're usually a little bit further ahead, just because we're so specific in only targeting the state of Virginia. We get to know our guys and our programs really well, and then unfortunately, it's a lot of postseason review. I wish we were preparing to play this weekend, in all honesty, but just kind of going through each game by game, and kind of going through our self-scout and starting to make plans for spring ball and what next year's iteration of our defense and our culture is going to be as we kind of grow this thing.
Now, how many in the recruiting class, Coach, you think on average? Because I was talking to a couple of coaches and they were saying they're trying to make them a little bit smaller this coming class, but I guess that depends on the school probably.
Sure, yeah. Well, and because we play in the New Jersey Athletic Conference, we have operate with a hard roster cap. So we're capped at 135. And so that's not the case for like the other ODAC schools in the state. They all kind of fluctuate based on, how many helmets they got or lockers they have available. And so some of them have much bigger rosters than we do, and some of them, might be operating smaller. But so each year it's kind of, how many guys have we graduated and what spots do we have to fill? But we can't carry more than 135 into camp. So that makes it difficult. So generally we target about 40 guys in each year's class. And now we're going into year 4 as a staff. And so in those early classes, it was a lot more guys just getting us up to that 135. But now things have kind of leveled off a little bit, and I think we're starting to build something a little bit. So yeah, we've been very selective this year. It's been interesting, just recruiting a lot of variety of places. This is much closer to my experiences at maybe Bucknell or Rice than some of the other Division III opportunities I've had.
Right. Right. So you guys doing a great job over there. You guys were, I think, 7-3 this year. I mean, you guys are, and I follow you guys. You guys do a great job year to year. Let me ask you, when bringing in talent, and I'm always curious about each school, and I'm sure each school does it differently, but is there a concerted effort for you guys to bring in Virginia kids? And
Sure,
is that first?
Well, and we're a public school. And so as a state school in Virginia, we're just much more affordable to in-state players. And so, yeah, we don't actually travel outside the state as coaches to recruit. And so actually 100% of our roster last year was Virginia high school football players. And we'll bring in one player from out of state this year, at least so far. It looks like that will happen, but that's not something we actively seek out. And one, part of the Division III recruiting, we don't have the opportunity to offer you an athletic scholarship. And I never liked the talking money part with families and things. It was one of the neat things about CNU is it is such a phenomenal opportunity educationally and socially, and I think what we're building football wise, that I think that opportunity speaks for itself. But to go in, cross the river to Maryland and say, hey, it's going to be an extra $10,000 for this same experience that, maybe your high school teammate, just because you've got the wrong, that doesn't sit right with us as a staff, and so to seek that, not that we would say no to those young men, but to go out of our way to try to drum that up. And we're fortunate enough to, full disclosure, to be at a school that's healthy enough that we're not in charge of bringing bodies in admissions wise. Like, they just want us to win football games and for our guys to have a great experience. And so that's a blessing too, because I've been on the other side.
That's impressive, Coach. That's all Virginia on the roster. And talking to this audience, you're talking to a Virginia audience right now, and that,
Yeah.
I mean, what better sell than that? I mean, honestly, that Virginia, you don't see that too often. I can't imagine that's.
We might be one of one as far as college
Yeah.
football that everybody is homegrown as we go through. And I like to tell young men, I said, you can go to a lot of places and you'll play on a regional roster, and you may never leave the state to play a college football game. You'll play all schools from maybe in Virginia and maybe dip into North Carolina once or some out of conference. I said, your roster's only going to be Virginia guys here, and we'll go over wherever the best games in the country are. So we get on airplanes and meet people.
So I really want to get to the recruiting process, but there's two parts in particular that I really think that especially student athletes kind of overlook. And what do like academics and character play into your recruiting process when you look at it? Obviously, they need to be physically qualified, but when you're looking at those other two things, academics and character, how does that play into you when you're going out and recruiting kids?
Oh, it's huge. It's as important as any of the football characteristics, because it's simplestly it's retention, right? If school's not important to you, if you're not there to get an education, and CNU's difficult, you are expected to show up to class and participate and turn things, like, it's not an online school that you can just kind of mail things in. And so, if you're not handling your business with that, you're not going to be around long enough to help us consistently on the field. But also just as a coach and a mentor, we want to help you grow the most. And so if you're not invested in the full college experience where you're really pouring yourself into that, you're missing out on a huge opportunity, especially at our level where we are, the reality is, our kids are having to pay for their college education, things like that. Like, be personally invested in the process that you're going in as well. And so, yeah, that's a huge part of just not only seeing you and what Coach Crowley's building, and what we're doing with our culture here, but I think especially the Division III experience in general, like it has to be more than just football as you go through.
Yeah. So, all right. So, good segue here in terms of the players and Virginia and all that stuff. I'm going to ask you specifically now, why Nova kids, and what do they bring to the table?
One, it's the coaches in the area. The quality of football that these kids are exposed to, just X's and O's wise and communication wise, that shows up right away. And, at a Division III level, we don't have the opportunity to redshirt young men. And so you don't get that extra semester or 2 semesters of development in just learning how to speak like a football player and operate. And, some of the schemes and things that these kids are coming out of just set them apart. It makes it easier for them to find the field for us right away, because, the teaching load on us for them as freshmen, I've found is a lot smaller with a lot of the guys from these programs. And especially, quarterbacks, receivers and stuff. They're playing year round up there, and they I'll have quarterback trainers and 7-on-7, and so there's just there's a lot going on in the area, and so that's been helpful for us.
So camps, like, what roles do those things play into you being able to evaluate talent? Because Virginia's huge, and I'm sure you guys have to scour, but how do your camps play into how your evaluation of kids you're looking at?
Yeah, and so we don't actually host any player camps at CNU, and for me, going through as a college coach, and the advice that I would give, is go to camps where you have an opportunity for somebody to shake your hand and give you a scholarship,
100%.
and it's like, as much as you could spend 3 hours with me and you're going to be a better football player after those 3 hours, and we're going to have a great time, and hopefully you learn something and take away to improve you. I'm going to take you $60 and give you a t-shirt, and, like, go somewhere where when you clock that time, you get an opportunity to get a ride as it goes. I love going to the camps just to see the guys compete, and see who they are on the field. Obviously the tape is first and foremost in what you're doing out there when the pads are on, especially as a defensive coach. Like, there's only so much you can see in underwear before you got to find out who's really about this game and,
Right.
and how we want it played. But camps are great for us to just get out and get around other coaches and compare notes with them and see more of the high school staffs. All of the coaches in the area do a really good job opening up their doors to us and being honest with us and letting us know, about the guys and where they see them and where they see opportunities for development. But sometimes in the camps, you get to see more of the assistants, where you get to see, more of the sports staff, and you get to interact with the families and get to know them and kind of part of their journey. So it all plays into kind of us getting to know a prospect. But I would say we don't put a huge amount of emphasis in camp performances. It's just, icing on the cake for us as we kind of go through and build things out.
Oh, that's good. 'Cause I was going to ask you, because I know you guys used to, before Coach Crowley, they would host their, they had a thing. So I wasn't sure if Coach Crowley was still going to plan on doing that. So since you're not doing that, you would say the mega camps, I guess, are the ones you're referring to, and they're okay, I guess. But you guys strictly on the film, right? So which makes sense. I get it.
Well, and it's always nice to get accurate times or accurate heights or weights
Right.
on the guy and things like that. So the data is exciting, as we go some of the camps, and that's where we got to build relationships with the staffs of those schools and things like that. And but yeah, if there's a camp going on in the state of Virginia, somebody from our staff is probably there to see it. And that's the other thing. This football staff are just football junkies. Like, this is the hardest time of year right now for us, because it's like, all right, well, what can we be doing right now? I think all of us would rather be preparing for a game and getting ready to play and all that. And so summer rolls around and things start getting itchy, and want to get out on the field and get to camps and all of that. So you'll see us there.
Well, that's one of Mace's favorite, because I'm going to go ahead and start the segue here, Mason, because one of Mace's favorite pet peeves and topics is kids' highlight films. So I'll let you go ahead and ask these questions, because you're always harping about it.
Yeah, so I always tell kids a lot of times, and the college coaches I've talked before said, if you make a 5 minute long highlight film, the college coaches are not going to watch the full 5 minutes. They're probably going to watch the first 30, 45 seconds of it, and for it to really pop. When kids are making their highlight, if they're making a highlight reel, what is your normal advice? Like I said, this is advice I give just because it's the feedback I've gotten from the college coaches who are saying, especially, they go, I get so much film that, I just can't spend 10 minutes watching everybody's highlight film. So don't put in every tackle, don't put in every catch. You really want to put things that kind of pop. What is your advice to kids when they're putting together out their highlight reel?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great thing to bring up. And it is true. There's a lot that we have to go through as coaches. I will say, for us as a staff, because we don't leave the state, I have 38 schools I'm responsible for in the Northern Virginia area. So, like, the amount of attention a young man's film is going to get from us is, we'll sit and we'll watch, the full 5 minutes or and we want to get as much as possible, because that's our group of guys that we're focused on. But yeah, ultimately you want to put something that shows what makes you a difference maker at your position as quickly as possible. And obviously everyone wants to evaluate speed at every position, defensively for me, the term I heard used was contact courage. Like you got to be about it. And so we want to see you, using your body as a weapon. Your willingness to engage in a full contact sport as quickly as possible on defense. And especially DBs, they put all their interceptions up front. Yeah, I want to see you play the ball. I want to see, those skills and your ability to read things, but also, can you run that alley and get it down? Because I can help you get to the right spot when the ball's in the air, but I can't help you get it to the ground once it gets to that contact point as it goes. And so whatever position it is that you are, playing, lining those things up to where you're showing, if you're an offensive lineman, show some drive blocking and some pass pro early on, like get that variety in of some stuff so that, we can see how you move and how you approach the game. And, the rest of it, that's on us as coaches to coach up as it goes. But make sure you're putting your best foot forward with your highlights and just knowing you may only get one chance or 2 or 3 minutes, in front of the staff to show. And, for all of us as coaches, we come back in the spring and we've got all of these names and all these links and all these huddles to pull up. And it's like, you get the head coach's attention briefly, like, check this kid out. I'm really excited about him. Like, give us the wow early, help us out, because so many coaches in the areas are, working for you. They want, they get to know the high school coaches and they see, who these kids are. And it's like, you got to sell it to a whole staff.
Yeah, I think at least my advice again on the defensive side, I've had linebackers who they've had really good film of them engaging blocks and stopping blocks in the hole, and they don't think that that's a highlight because they're like, well, I didn't make a tackle. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You took on with your inside arm, you flattened a guard to his behind, you didn't make the play, but to show a college coach that you're willing to, like you said, contact courage and stick your nose in there and make the sacrifice so somebody else can make the tackle, I think are things that kids a lot of times don't get. So I think sometimes when they don't realize that coaches are evaluating all parts, they think it has to be all of a sudden this splash play, but you don't realize that is an actual splash play you can put on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and every year you see they make the highlights based on the box scores, and they're like, oh, you might have forced a fumble on that play, but you were nowhere near where you were supposed to be, and that was so just because it shows up as a positive box score play doesn't mean it's a highlight.
As the high school coaches, right? I think the high school coaches should have a big part, and I know a lot of them do, but helping the kids put these. I mean, the kids aren't, they're not Steve Sables, right? They're not NFL Films kids. They're just throwing out highlights on there, right, on Huddle. I mean, they don't know what they're doing, some of them. So they need that guidance, right? In terms of like, no, don't put that, like what you just said, Mason, right? I mean, show that the fundamentals. It might look boring to you, but the college coach is going to see that and be like, oh, this is what we need.
Well, and that's an opportunity as you're watching film with your team too, as a coach, like, hey, like this is what we're looking for right here. I bet college coaches would, like you get an opportunity to kind of point those out and highlight those. But I will say, like, kids today though are way further advanced in promoting themselves and video editing, and it's
true.
A whole lot different world than the VHS into DVD world that I came up in trying to get.
True, and they don't even know who Steve Sable is, man. And that's depressing enough.
Another question. Again, I know we're kind of stick with recruiting. If you're advising a high school student on what to do to contact coaches, what are some really good ways for them to do it, and what are some mistakes you've seen some kids make in contacting you?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just shoot your shot. Email is hard because that's the easiest way for every coach to get accessed. And so that's just where we get hit with the most things. And so that I speaking for me personally, that's probably the fastest thing that just gets deleted through. Like if it's not my school, if it's not my area. And so if it's a school that you're really pursuing, one, they probably have a questionnaire. And even at the highest levels, if you fill out a questionnaire and you submit your film and all that, I mean, if you're at Ohio State, there's an army of people that is just combing through, measurables and film and going through all of that. And so you'll at least get into the database by filling out a questionnaire and things like that. But Twitter or phone number, and then use your high school coach as a resource. I think we're one of the last sports that still goes into schools and talks to the coaches and 100%. Builds a relationship. And so it's like, if I recruit your school in Northern Virginia, your head high school coach has my cell phone number. You now have my cell, like that's what it's there for. Like shoot me a text, give me a call. Twitter is helpful too because it's all in the same place. And so anybody from my area, like if you're following me, I'll follow you back. My focus is always one recruiting class at a time, and so right now it's all focuses on 2025 grads. And so if you're a sophomore or a junior right now and you hit me up, hey, thanks, really excited to hear your interest. My focus right here is on 2025s. When we turn the page, in the next couple of months here, we'll start setting up times where you can get out to campus and things like that. And like anything, it's you gotta kind of play the game. You hit people up and they don't hit you back, and it's how many times you're gonna keep calling a girl before you don't get any response before you kind of move on to find the next opportunity for a prom date, So if you lay your head down at night every night dreaming about playing at Virginia Tech and they never respond to everything you send out, maybe it's time to start reaching out to some other schools and figuring out what opportunities are out there.
Well, that actually leads me to ask you, talking about Twitter, because this is something Mason and I always talk about. How often do you think some of the coaches will make an offer, right, a roster spot offer, or scholarship offer, whatever it might be, to a kid because of, let's just say Johnny Nova just got an offer from Hamden Sydney.
Sure.
And you've been talking to him a little bit, right? And he says, blessed and honored to receive my, offer from Hamden Sydney. Are you looking at that and going, Coach, what do you think about this? He just got an offer from Hamden Sydney. How does that work?
I will say for us as a staff, it doesn't play in so much. I think every staff probably sits down and like, oh yeah, we offered it. Now all of a sudden you see bang, 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 like everybody kind of has that protectiveness. For me, it is helpful if a young man keeps up with his Twitter and is posting his offer, because it's like, okay, this is kind of the ballpark of schools that he's looking, if they've got, all ACC offers, well, they're probably not going to end up at CNU when this process is all said and done. So that helps you kind of gauge things a little bit of just, all right, this is who's in the game with all of that. But whether a kid has an offer or doesn't have an offer, that doesn't mean anything to us. We're just looking for guys that fit what we do and play the game the way that we think it should be played.
So I did have another question. We're gonna. I mean, I'm like I said, it's been a little recruiting heavy at this point, but
No,
with the new ruling that came out through the NCAA, where like JUCO doesn't count anymore for the 2 years.
Sure, yeah.
Now we don't have JUCO football here in Virginia. I don't think we do. There are no junior colleges that play football here in Virginia, so I don't know how much that, especially because you keep you got all in house. Have you guys talked about what that, because everything that I've read and some people I've talked to have said, like, between the portal and now the new JUCO rule, it has changed college football from Division I all the way down to Division III because of what's going on.
Sure.
In your conversations, how is that affecting you guys as far as recruitment of high school players go? How are you guys looking at that in your? I mean, if you guys have had any conversations about that.
No, we haven't really specifically talked about the JUCO changes. I guess big picture wise, just what a great time for me as a football coach to be at a nationally competitive Division III school where like a lot of those headaches just aren't us, and I tell young men and families, like, there are opportunities to bounce around and transfer and, grow your opportunities, and you can make money at a college level now. That, who am I to say that that's not a direction that you should shoot your shot at? That's just not the experience that we have available to you at CNU. But what we do have are guys that want a 4 to 5 year college experience and, want to play with the same guys and develop friends for the rest of their life and, have that college experience. And so it's just not an area that really directly affects our roster so much. For the most part, it's led to us landing some much better players out of high school that are now getting overlooked because people want somebody with college experience or want somebody who's 20 years old. And, we're getting the caliber of 18-year-old that's ending up on our campus now is dramatically different than it was 4 or 5 years ago. And that's exciting for us as well.
And I tell kids all the time, your goal should be to walk out of school with a degree. Sure. They all come with stars in their eyes. But I tell them all the time, you want to go to a college campus, and this is even just students I give advice to. Go to a college campus where you're comfortable, where you can see yourself being there for 4 years. We think you're going to be happy because it needs to be a good fit for you for 4 years. And I think from like I said, we get a lot of kids who go to CNU, oddly enough, out of Northern Virginia, and it seems like a place where people want to go to school at and to enjoy their time there.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And there's just so much growth that happens at the college age, right? And so go somewhere that supports all of you. Like, if you're making a decision just because of football or just because of a major or just because a girl went there, or, like if it's a single variable decision, you're leaving too much to chance. Like, there's so much to experience in a college opportunity that if you're not feeling fully supported by the campus, by the academics, by the football program, by the support staff that around your athletic department, then you're missing opportunities, because there is a school out there, I think, for everyone as it goes. And so find that fit because that's where you're going to grow the most. And every coaching staff, no matter whether you go to a JUCO or wherever you want to go, they're going to want to grow you. They're going to want you to get better. They're going to coach you to improve. And if you're not feeling that support, or you're 1 foot in or 1 foot out, and you're not bringing your best self to it, you're just not going to thrive in that environment. And that's what we're all shooting for as we go. That's how we get better as a team. And so, we try to be as transparent as possible in our process because, maybe CNU isn't the right fit for everyone, but the guys that do choose it, I think become better because of it, and because of everything that we have to offer. And so it's a lot to navigate, I think, because people see so many different ways of getting things done. And I think people undervalue the level of maturity required to start over every single year and kind of go through that process. Like the hardest transition for any of us, and it doesn't change as an adult, like the hardest, 6 months of any job is the first 6 months, right? Like it's learning and getting to meet all the new people and figuring out, and then to start that process over and over and over again. It seems daunting to me, and I'm in a pretty transient profession. Like you guys have listed some of the places I've coached. I've lived all over the country doing this, but we're in a good place here and settled here, and that's a luxury, and I think people shouldn't undervalue that as well. Like there's something about being someplace where you're valued and where you can grow into the next year without having to worry about everything being brand new.
Yeah, that's well said. And like we said earlier, we've heard from a lot of a lot of kids, a lot of parents that you guys are doing something right over there because everyone we've talked to seems to enjoy their experience at CNU with you and Coach Crowley and the rest of the crew.
That's great.
But I got so we had opened this up to DMs, and some parents and students had written us with some questions that they might have had.
Wow.
More general, not specific, but general. And one, a good question for a parent and a student was a day in the life of a player in season, and then if you can give us day in the life at a season with maybe some kind of the workouts you guys do or whatever.
Sure, yeah. So in season, our travel guys are with our strength and conditioning staff, at least twice a week, as things go. And obviously they're there for practice and recovery and all of those things, but they are in the weight room, I guess, specifically twice a week. And we build that around their class schedule. And so every college program has one mandatory day off. For us at CNU, it's Sundays. As a coach, there are different ways that to fit kind of your lifestyle, because I think we're all pushing it in the red all day, every day. But for Coach Crowley, Sundays are very important. Give our guys time to get back with family and get to church in the mornings and watch their NFL teams, and that was always a big thing for him growing up as well. And so our guys have Sundays off. They'll check in with the trainers, if they have any nicks or bruises or any of that stuff. And other than that, they have Sundays to kind of get organized for the week. Monday mornings, we have a 6 a.m. team meeting where we'll kind of go through Saturday's game, and that's where everything gets going. So everybody's up, they can get to breakfast, they get to their first classes and all of that, and then our practices are in the afternoon. So we have a 3:30 to 5:30 window for practices in the afternoon. And so you may have a lift time in between that meeting and then, but then we won't see the guys again until 3:30. And then we're off the field by 5:30. We have 6 p.m. classes every night here at CNU. And so we'll have guys, headed to classes as you go through. But typically our guys carry about 15 hours of classwork. So that's about 5 classes. So whether it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there's 2 classes, and Tuesday, Thursday, it's 3, or vice versa. And so there is, some built-in downtime as well that exists in every college student's life as it goes. But yeah, we're on the field Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, kind of in that 3:30 to 5:30 window, and then Friday's a built-in travel day, and Saturday's game day as it goes. So yeah, typically expect to be busy, kind of from 6 to 6 every day as a college football player at CNU.
And how about the off season?
Off seasons were in the morning, and part of that is just sharing our weight room staff and our weight room time with all of the other teams, and it's also an opportunity for us to get the team all together. And so we work out in the mornings Monday through Friday in the off season. When we have that, it's open to our players. In the Division III model, it's all voluntary in the off season outside of our our spring window with that, and so. Our guys are usually all in together, Monday through Friday. We'll have a 6 to 7 group or an 8 to 9 group. So if you have an 8 a.m. class, you're in the 6th group. And then we have a run in between there where the whole team's together. So everybody's together by at least 7 Monday through Friday in the off season as it goes with that. And then we're available as coaches for academic meetings and things like that throughout the day. And that's the time where you get to kind of spend a little bit more one-on-one time with each of the guys, talk to them about their class schedule and how things are going with all of that.
So
And voluntary, I mean, you're looking at almost 100% though, right? With those numbers, right?
Well, and that's one of the advantages of having a competitive roster with hard roster is everybody wants to be a part of it, and so it's, we don't make decisions on the roster based on
Right.
for that, but guys they know what it takes.
It's important.
And honestly, our off seasons are fun. Like I look forward to them every year. I wish they came a few weeks later every year as it went, but yeah, it's the best time. It's all of us just together. You're not stressing about preparing for a game. You're just trying to get better every day, and that's what we all show up to do.
So I had 2 questions. One about the in-season part, and then one about the off-season part, because I think sometimes high school athletes don't see the importance and the value and the expectation. What is your expectation on watching film during the season of guys on the defensive side? So
Sure, yeah. So I try to be cognizant of the fact that they are students first, and not everyone has as much of a football junkie as I am. Our guys love football, but I try to build everything preparation wise to where essentially Sunday through Wednesday is on me as a coach. We have structured meeting times, we have practice time. The information that I want to get to you, I'll get to you in the time that we have available. And I talk to our guys, and the way we build our week is I expect all of your homework for the week to be done by the time you go to bed Wednesday night. Thursday, it's turn in or show up to the test, but you should be prepared as you go. And starting Thursday, let's really start getting into the tape and figuring things out as it goes. And, yes, you'd prefer that everybody has, the film all digested, Sunday and Monday and is ready to rock and roll for all the practices as you go through. But, really Thursday, Friday becomes really heavy kind of film for our guys. And so we cut things up into the cut ups that we for sure want them to see, break out the games that we need, formations that we need, kind of whatever's going on. And we can separate it by position group as well. But with Huddle now, everything's so accessible. I mean, shoot, they're watching it on their phones,
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, not as far as being with you, but watching film. So I guess my kind of follow up to this is do you see a difference in student athletes who prioritize and make sure that they get all their stuff taken care of, but also are sitting there and watching film? Do you see a difference?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and especially for us defensively, it's not just how much time do you individually spend. Like our coach, our safeties, watch it together. You guys are making decisions on the field that affect our entire defense. If you know it, great. If you can communicate it, awesome. But if the 3 of you are together, oh, all right, they motioned into this, what do we, there are times where our guys are given the freedom to make checks based on what they know and understand. I can't be in their ear every second as things go. And so the more they can watch it together, and that's where I think we really started to take strides is, the defense getting together on their own and just kind of going through. And, I'll get phone calls. And so I actually live in Richmond and drive out to Newport News every day. So I spend a lot of time so I'll get phone calls, on the drive. Hey, coach, we're watching this, and they did this and this. I'm like, well, what do you guys think? Oh, we like this. All right, we'll mark it down, we'll check to that if they go to the, so. Or, hey, we talked about that as a staff. I see where your head's at, but we're going to go with this because it fits, these other investments that we're doing.
And so then I guess preparation-wise in the off season, I think sometimes a lot of the high school student athletes don't see the value in the off-season workouts, getting in the weight room. Sometimes they kind of avoid it or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about the value of making sure getting that off-season workout in?
It's. I mean, at a high school level, obviously, I don't want to take anything away from multi-sport athletes or things like that. We all, as coaches, value that, and stay competitive, stay involved in things. But once you get to a college level where you're probably a primary sport, just playing one. If you're not invested in the off season, you're probably not going to be invested in the game and that's the hard part. I think the transition from high school to college is we get so few opportunities to truly play the game of football. Most of your college football experience is preparing to play. So if you don't enjoy that process of it, college football just isn't for you. Like just full stop. Like it's just not going to be something you enjoy. Like we practice and we lift way more than we play football. Like that's just, and practices are fun. We're playing football in practice. Don't get me wrong, but like that's the time together. That's, getting bigger, stronger, faster, and bonding as a team, just everybody being together. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the first questions I have for coaches as I go in. And one of the things you start learning about different programs as you go in, like, all right, what is the weight room expectation at this program, and who's running it, and how does this guy show up to it? And yeah, if there's not that motivation to go in and push yourself and kind of challenge yourself and compete, because that's really what it's all about, kind of in the weight room. It's not about going in there and being miserable and throwing heavy things around. It's go challenge yourself. Those are the guys we're excited about.
Well, you brought up the multi-sport athlete, actually. And that was one of the questions that was asked, actually. And I know, we've had students go over there and play lacrosse as well. I know you guys have a great lacrosse program. How often have you seen that over at CNU?
It happens. It happens. We do have, we've had some guys run track or throw. We've had guys play baseball. But CNU athletic department is extremely competitive. Like nearly every one of our sports is nationally ranked. They all regularly attend the postseason. We've had 4 national championships as a department in the last 4 years. So it is possible to do, but and maybe this is a controversial thing for me to say, but like none of us like it. Like no coach at CNU wants to share you. Like we all want to win. We want your focus where you are. You can do it, but you have to do all of both sports. And neither coach is like, oh yeah, it's this season, we'll pull back. Like they're all worried about their season. Like, and so, it's a valuable skill set to have. And we like guys that are competitors and want to compete. But
yeah, it's not high school. It's not high school.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, at a Division III level, there are opportunities to go to schools where the emphasis isn't like that. And
right.
One of the advantages that we have such a large and qualified support staff. We just coach football at CNU. Like we're not in charge of grounds. We're not in charge of the weight room. We're not in charge of academics or, like we have departments that handle all of those things. And so for us as coaches, like we just want to coach ball as much as possible. And that's all, we really have to do. And so as much time as we can get with the guys, we'll take it. And those are the guys we have on the team. Like they love it. Like I said, I'm getting phone calls through Christmas break. Hey coach, I was going through the install and when it said this, like, should we change it to this year? And like, yeah, okay. Yep. All right. So there's no downtime for me either.
I was curious, do you notice freshman year, especially now, because I feel like you have a lot of the kids who went through the COVID schooling for a while. Do you notice what are some of the struggles you've seen as far as academically you've seen some out of your guys this year? I mean, you may have not had very many, but like where do you see them kind of struggling at in their first year of trying to balance being a college athlete on campus after leaving high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think the COVID challenge obviously is a unique one. We do a lot to try to set our freshmen up for success in that first semester, as far as really getting to know them throughout their senior year, getting them involved with our academic support staff, before they even kind of step foot on campus, giving them an understanding of what their schedule is and what the expectations of the particular professors that they have. And then we have an entire locker room of guys that have all taken these classes before as well. So they can kind of tell them like, look, you got to sit up front. You got to do this. They love it when and so helping them through all that. COVID, my impression was there were certain scenarios where it became easier to make excuses about things. There was just so many opportunities of why you can't do what's expected of you that, any any person is going to find opportunities to take some easy ways out with that. And so I think getting to an in-person, in the room college campus, it was like, oh no, that like, I'm sorry you had the sniffles. Like this was still due on Friday. And so just getting over that. And, for us as coaches, you just, like anything, set the expectations early. Like, hey, this is what's going to be expected of you. And throughout my entire career at any school I've been at, I've found, if you tell people what's expected of them early on, you're almost always going to get, there are very few, where somebody just is blatantly just like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like those guys are easy to cut bait with as things go, but most of these guys want to do it right. So it's our job to just kind of see some of the stumbling blocks and let them know ahead of time. Like, hey, let's make sure you're showing up to class, and you know, on those cold rainy days, like send out a text like, hey, I know it's easy to roll back over, like let's all make sure we get to class today.
Yeah,
I did.
who doesn't want full credit for handing something in a month late? I'll take it.
Right, exactly, yeah,
I'll take it.
yeah. So that's not the way it works here at CNU.
Right.
I did see another question, and this is one we get a lot. Uh, does it matter where I go to school at as far as being able to play college football? Because I think there's a thought out
Oh,
there.
in high school?
Yeah, if I don't play at this high, if I play at high school A, I won't get recruited as well if I play at high school B. So is there a correlation, or do you think most part you can get seen at any high school that you play at?
No, I mean, shoot, the internet and huddle exists. Like you can get seen. Like, are you going to a high school where they don't have cameras? Like, I mean, are that, you know, like if that's the case, then maybe, you know, like, you know, if you don't have a parent that's willing to hold an iPhone or a camcorder and get some of the film out, then maybe you'd have an argument. But it's again, no different than your college. Where's the fit? You know, does the coach know you? Is he using your skill set, you know, towards what, and it pushing you to get better as it goes? And, you know, you get the opportunities that you get as you go through, but there are schools that produce college players every single year, and sometimes that's not always a good thing. You know, like sometimes, you know, like Herndon had an unbelievable senior class this year, right? Well, if I show up in the spring, I'm like, hey, here's 7 guys we need to evaluate. Like, whoa, like what? Like this is this. Like yeah, this is what they've got this year, but like there becomes like does that hurt? And for us it doesn't, because we know our programs and we get to know the staffs and things like that. But I would imagine, you know, if you're at a scholarship school and you see, oh, they have 4 scholarship players here, like, well, the 5th kid, he must not be that. And so there's a bunch of different ways that coaches can talk themselves out of giving you an opportunity. You just got to find that opportunity and that one coach that will give you the opportunity as it goes through. And so, you know, I caution anybody, where are you on the continuum of making excuses versus just making it happen? You know, like if you've got an opportunity on the field and somebody's going to give you the football or the opportunity to go chase that ball, like take that, like go do that and put out, because we just want to see you play. And it doesn't matter what level you play at or what color your helmet is or any of that stuff. Like, are you playing the game the way it needs to be played? And in the schools that is important to,
Yeah.
maybe that's not a school you want to be a part of as it
Yeah,
goes
right.
through. I don't know. I've never been a part of a school or a coaching staff that looked at it that way.
Yeah, we can't. I know both myself and Dash kind of always tell kids, no matter where you're at, if you make the best opportunity, if you go out there and work as hard as you can out there, you know, like you said, the huddle exists.
Right.
And
Well, and would you leave all of your high school friends or all of your other connections? Like it just, there's an imbalance there if you're, you know, bouncing around a bunch of different schools as a high school player, let alone, you know, it's just sooner or later, like you got to kind of find your people and grow together. Like it is a team game. It's the greatest team game of all time. So
yeah, absolutely.
We really appreciate you coming out here and joining us. I mean, 45 minutes of just, you know, talking football, talking Nova, talking recruiting, all these things that are so important to, you know, all these kids, not only here, but obviously, you know, all over the state of Virginia.
I appreciate you guys reaching out and the opportunity to get on and get to know you guys. I'm really looking forward to following next season with you guys along through the pod. And well, it's awesome that just for these guys to get an opportunity to get highlighted and shout out. And like I said, it was always like, if we could just get 10 seconds on the local news when I was in high school, it's like, oh yeah, there we are. And then so to have this as a forum, I can only see growth opportunity for you guys as you go through.
Is there anything you want to share before you go about CNU, about your program? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I just that the best is yet to come. You know, I think people are talking about us, and I think things are positive. But our ambitions are high, and like I said, like there's a Division III national championship, and we want to be in that conversation. We want to be competing for those things, and you know, we got to do work on our end to continue that build. And you know, we're only going into year 4 as a staff, and you know, sometimes you got to give yourself a little bit of patience through that, but. We're not comfortable being patient with it as it goes. You know, we want to build it the right way, but we're ready to take the next step. So we're excited for guys that want to compete and have that chip on their shoulder. And that's what we've been finding in the Northern Virginia area. And, you know, guys that are used to playing in front of big crowds and playing games that matter in November, and guys that are used to eating Thanksgiving dinner together as a team. You know, that's where we're headed at CNU. And so we're excited to continue to add guys to it. On the topic of meals, though, where do I got to go to get this Dash and Dan sandwich? What?
Get that. The Dash and Dan has made its way down to Richmond and
Really?
and CNU. That is fantastic. I'll tell you what, Celebrity Deli. They may be
Okay.
the oldest deli in Northern Virginia. The
Okay.
oldest deli.
I'll have to mark that. I mean, I spend a lot of time in the area. I got to eat a lot of meals. So
Yeah, you won't be disappointed, Mason. We just went there this past weekend together,
did.
and I think we blew the mind off that way. The server. The server came over to us, and she's like, "Well, do you want the menu?" And I'm like, "Tell me about the Dash and Dan." And she told us about it. And I said, "You know, you're looking at it's like my life. I just checked off a bucket list item. I'm like, you know, you're talking to Dash and Dan right now." She's like, "You're pulling my leg, right?"
hey, maybe we all make it as big as getting a sandwich named after us. Just keep coaching until I can get to that level. So.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Coach Wicklund, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for joining us today, buddy. And best luck to you guys. You guys are killing it, and you're going to continue to kill it. I know, like I said, I follow you guys, in all your sports. And I know in football, I mean, you were 7-3 this past season, and I know you guys can just keep getting better and better.
So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Take care.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Coach Wicklund. I thought that was a lot of insight there. What you think? What were some of your takeaways of that, Mason?
Yeah, I just thought about his opinions on or his experience, right, with the recruiting process from the other side, right? I've never been a college coach, and to hear a college coach kind of open up and talk about what the recruiting part looks like from his side, I think one is really insightful for not just for coaches, but for parents and for kids as well.
Yeah, and also from the standpoint of Rice, Bucknell, now CNU, obviously, but he's experienced at all the levels, so he's coming at, with a lot of experience, and then now obviously as the DC.
Right. Yeah. Definitely showing too the kind of travels it takes to be a college coach. I mean, kind of moving through the ranks and just trying to find the place that fits right for him.
For some of our, families who listen to this and the players, it's not a coincidence. And, we joke about, him listening to the show, and a lot of these guys, you mentioned last episode or recently, that there's a Big Ten coach, maybe from Penn State that listens to our show. This is not because they saw us and they're like, oh, these guys are freaking fantastic. We love Dash and Dan. Maybe they do love us, but that's not the real reason. What these people need to understand, the players, their parents, et cetera, in this area, these guys are going under every rock. Right. And they want to learn about where can I find some recruits. Right. And so we're just one avenue. And they told us that, they'll kind of click through it and kind of fast forward, see if any players that, they hadn't seen or heard of before. And then it's not just us. They're doing this on different publications, different websites, news articles, whatever it is.
It's their livelihood to find.
Yes.
Players.
So if you're out there and you're a student athlete, remember that when you're doing interviews with anybody, right? Just keep that in mind that, these coaches, they're always looking,
right?
In a game when you're coming off the field, I know players have probably heard it 1,000 times, body language and that, but that stuff, they're looking, it matters.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely.
Well, another good one. We've really started this year off with a lot of good interviews, buddy, and we got more coming.
Yeah, the hits don't stop.
Hits don't stop here. There's no B-side.
No,
we don't do a B-side here, buddy.
we're like the Thriller album, right? Listen to the Thriller album all the way through, didn't you?
Way through. No bad songs. No bad songs.
Really.
Well, once again, for you go enjoy that porterhouse, buddy.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Enjoy that porterhouse from Dash and Dan at all Hitches. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.